This is part 2 of the Monster Hunter Flagship ranking. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'd highly recommend you do so before returning to this video. Link will be in the description. Let's kick today's part off with many people's first flagship monster, Nergigante. He is an elder dragon specialized in hunting and feasting on other elder dragons. How does he do that? With elemental power like most elders? Nope, just pure physical might. Nergi is built for pure strength, which is greatly reflected in his design, appearing a lot bulkier than the average elder dragon. I think it sticks out a lot despite being simple in theory, and is just really badass. His secret weapon are the spikes, which form on body parts that get injured, and thus grow exactly there where it's necessary for Nergigante to protect himself. At first they are white and soft, making them easily breakable if you focus on them. And focus on them you should, because if left unchecked, they grow black and harden to the point most weapons bounce off and do next to no damage. If you manage to break them off, Nergigante will get staggered, and now it's your time to dish out some damage. But if you fail, more and more body parts will grow black spikes, and finally culminating in Nergigante's super move, if all spikes are fully grown. This fight dynamic is really fun and satisfying to learn when you first face him. He gets easy after you figure him out though, which is where arch-tempered Nergigante comes in. He is one of, if not the hardest monsters to fight in base world, and the feeling I got when I finally soloed him for the first time was not comparable to anything else in Monster Hunter up to that point. That fight is just peak intensity, with Nergi relentlessly attacking you while this banger plays in the background. Armor and weapon design is obviously peak. He is amazing in that regard. But I want to especially mention Ruiner Nergigante's Alpha armor. It is probably my favorite armor set in Iceborne aesthetically. Now that I mention it, Ruiner Nergi falls a bit flat in my opinion, because he is not really a challenge when you finally face him, and does not really bring anything new to the table in terms of fight and design. But that's just a small setback. From my viewpoint, I really wouldn't mind Nergigante becoming the second face of Monster Hunter next to Rathalos. This one was the perfect returning monster to be announced in the first Sunbreak trailer. The hype was insane, and justifiably so. Astalos is a flying wyvern that sports many features found in insects. The wings are like those of dragonflies, and when you rake off parts of him, you can see a honeycomb structure. Details like this make his Sunbreak iteration the best. You can see the body parts they are charging up starting to glow in rainbow color before they finally light up in Astalos' iconic bright green. Another thing he shares with dragonflies is being a relentless hunter. He attacks quickly and constantly, keeping you on your toes. His electricity and paralysis also makes you susceptible to many combos, so more often than not you're gonna get hit more than just once. I feel Astalos in particular is very great to fight with counter attacks, which most weapons in Sunbreak actually got. I just really enjoy the overall feel of his fight, with him being a way too aggressive fast killing machine. Also sporting great armor and weapon designs. Some of them even transform or light up when they are being charged, an awesome detail. My boy really needs a variant, or at least Bolt Reaver to return, since I feel he, along with Steve, Regios, got a bit shafted in the endgame of Sunbreak. Oh well, maybe and hopefully next game. Oh, and of course, his theme song. Capcom, please put Zinogre on the bench for a few games and let him be the star of the show.
A grudge towards all life, given form in flame. Stalks unsuspecting creatures. That it seeks to maim. Its prey turns round to face it, preferring a hero's death, knowing that this purple fire will steal its final breath. Pray for its soul, for this creature of pure evil shall swallow the world whole.
When playing through Monster Hunter Rise, you'll probably have little to no issues speeding through low rank, especially if you're experienced. But even for my buddy who started with this game, everything up to Hub 3 was no issue, but as soon as you get a certain urgent quest from Master Hojo, you know you're in trouble. Magna Marlow is the prime example of this game's design philosophy regarding monsters. If you compare him, let's say, to Nergigante and his carefully crafted ecology interwoven in his design, Magna may seem a bit over-designed or even silly. Look how he speeds through the air and shoots magic missiles. This makes no sense. Well, it does make sense. Once you read a bit into his lore, the purple magic is gas that gets exhausted through his many vents on his body and gets formed as a waste product when Magna consumes his prey. But admittedly, he makes much less sense than monsters introduced in World. But here is my question. Does it matter that much? Not to me. Even as a massive fan of the realistic designs of Monster Hunter creatures, I can suspend my disbelief a bit when I in return get an amazing fight like this. Rise monsters are much more fantasy themed and have less believable abilities, but this results in very unique encounters that can't be compared to other monsters, and Magna is perfect for this game. He speeds around incredibly fast, has combos and lasting attacks that cover large areas, and to top it all off, he dishes out damage like a truck. He's this game's first true wall. It took my friends a few tries to beat him and thus made him the most memorable monster of that part of the game. I have to admit, his design also grew on me. It's really bulky and resembles a samurai, and it really helps to convey the might of this monster. Paired with the amazing theme, which really makes you feel like you're a hero fighting an ancient warrior, and you have a great monster package. His armor is dope, and the weapons are nice, although I have to say they are probably the weakest part of the whole package. What really catapults Magna this high is the great variant scorned Magna Malo. He is to me what Ruiner Nergigante could have been. His design is drastically different and admittedly kind of edgy, but as you will find out, this is in no way an issue for me, and he has so many new moves that complement Magna's moveset very well. In general, he's just Magna Malo cranked up to 11, which is what a variant should do. Oh, and of course I can't forget the armor. Magna grew on me immensely, and represents the portable team's creativity regarding monster design. Here we have a more surprising pick, considering this member of the Fated Four gets swept under the rug compared to all the others. I personally don't get it. Gammoth is a behemoth of a monster, towering over almost all non-elders in the series. The concept of a ginormous mammoth with an amazing color scheme and a helmet is awesome, especially since most of the really big monsters in the series are more reptile-like. Due to her being an elephant, it also gives her a unique skeleton and the ability to perform intimidating attacks. When I started playing Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate with my friend, this was the monster I was looking forward to refight the most, and I was not disappointed, probably also because I actually played guild style against her, which made her much more threatening. Design wise, she is perfect, and fight wise, I'd say many weapons have a really good time fighting against her. Her weapons have a unique flair to them, and I like the chunky armor. Her theme is in my opinion the best of the Fated Fours, and also suits her really well. It really conveys the towering size of Gammoth, the might and wind-up of her attacks, and the mountainous terrain where you find her. So what's holding her back a little? Well, I definitely think she could have had a bigger glow-up in a game similar to World, which has much slower and methodical combat, unlike in Generations or Rise. If she were to appear in a newer gen game, which I sincerely hope, since together with Lagiacrus she's the only flagship monster to not have done that yet. She really just would have to cover more area with her attacks to balance out the slowness, or get a few more trunk attacks that are much faster. Just imagine her pulling out a whole tree and launching it at the hunter, or better yet, use it as a giant club. How awesome would that be? But I especially want to see the big mammoth in crispy quality. Her fur would look amazing. So yeah, Gammoth is awesome and I need to see her in next gen graphics. Please, please be in Wilds.
No one could have seen it coming. This stalking shadow. The mist that envelops it. An evil force that consumes its prey. It's already too late. Even those who struggle in a desperate effort to survive are beaten and pinned down by its overwhelming force. Not until the end, when all is over, will it reveal its ghastly form.
Remember how I said that I don't mind edgy designs? Gore is probably the pinnacle of that, and I couldn't care less. I don't know how Capcom managed to design such a perfect monster, which conveys evil quite like Gore. From his incredibly slick design in his base form to the dope transformation into a raging demon in his frenzy mode. An aspect that I want to highlight in Sunbreak's version of Gore is the flowing and degrading effect of his wing cape. It gives him such an Dark Lord vibe. What I particularly like about him is his lore, and how the seemingly only for coolness generated effect ties into that. The shedding of his scales is the reason he is able to sense his environment. The fight also has a great flow, with the frenzy being a fun gimmick to deal with and having to target his head when he's in his frenzy mode, where he's the most dangerous. His theme is pretty great, although it's a shame they cut out the most intense part of his old theme in Sunbreak's version. It really completes the track. Chaotic Gore is fight-wise a Gore that has some new dangerous attacks and some borrowed from Shagaru, but he's also extremely interesting ecology-wise. So Gores are fun to fight and have great design and interesting lore. What else is there to say? Equipment. Holy moly, the equipment. It's gorgeous. Sorry about that. The weapons have such an evil flair to them. I love it. Same goes with the armor, which is probably the only case I actually prefer the female design. It alone is the reason I want Gore to be in many future games. Sadly, I haven't played Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, so I didn't experience Gore at its best. But from what I've known about his presence in the story, he's a great antagonist. So yeah, Gore Magala is beloved by most of the community, and I support it with every fiber of my being. I want to start this section by saying, this one is not only up here because of nostalgia. It's a big factor, yes, but Lagi has so much more going for him. Let's start with his appearance, a crocodile eel. It just works so well. A simple but very appealing design, as it ticks all the boxes you want in an intimidating sea monster. He's very big and the elongated neck makes him tower over you on land. The colors camouflage him well underwater and complement his blue lightning attacks. Pair this with his eyes glowing red underwater and you have quite an intimidating sight in front of you. And the looks do not deceive. A powerhouse underwater, Lagiacrus bombards the hunter with a volley of quick physical attacks and powerful shocks. This makes your battle against him a unique and epic set piece, while the theme of the deserted isles blasts in your ears. As with Rathalos, this really should be his theme, because it fits him so well. As already said in my video about Free U, he's the pinnacle of underwater combat in Monster Hunter, but he really needs this water to shine, so as sad as it was that he skipped World and Rise, I really think he needs it to make his grand return in an improved version. It would be amazing to have underwater combat with him again. This does however not mean a land Lagi cannot work. Ivory Lagiacrus is one that exclusively fights on land and does quite a good job being dangerous. I have fond memories of that one village quest where you first fight him before Azor, Wrath and a Brachydios appear at the same time. Ugh, the pain. But he still does not come close to base Lagi. Actually never fought Abyssal Lagiacrus before, so for those of you watching that have fought him, what do you think of him? He looks really cool, but the fight looks painful. Which is not a bad thing per se. Armor and weapons are pretty dope, they give me a deep sea night vibe. So yeah, Lagiacrus is a joy underwater, and to make his grand return, he has to stay partly submerged. I just love putting main series flagship monsters with portable teams flagship monsters side by side. You can definitely see the portable team's lesser regard for natural physical design in the monsters, what often then also results in more creative monsters. But Valstrax takes the cake for me in terms of craziness. I mean, you heard me comparing monsters with animals that they have characteristics of. But Valstrax? You get him when you mix a dragon and a fighter jet. Absurd! But he makes it work. His sleek aerodynamic design with features from falcons make his speed almost believable. Val has unique wings compared to all other flying monsters in the series. Rather than flapping them, he exhausts dragon energy from them, which propels him forward at incredible speeds, even allowing him to break the sound barrier. And not only that, his tough armor allows him to dive bomb the earth with this speed, which is terrifying. Valstrax brings the same energy from his ecology into his fight, speeding around the area and dishing out incredibly fast attacks. The way he has different battle stances for his wings is great, as it allows the player to anticipate the moves better. If they are in their normal position, you can expect fast physical attacks. But if the vents are facing you, you better be ready to dodge dragon missiles, bombs and even lasers. In Rise he starts glowing red really intensely, which is really intimidating, probably due to him actually being a variant there, named Crimson Glow Valstrax, but I don't really think he has that many changes, so for me he's basically Valstrax in Rise. Special mention goes to his ultimate attack, where he speeds off into the air, circles you from miles away before dive bombing you at the speed of sound. Always a joy to experience the terror this attack awakens. He's also really hard, which makes the experience even better. Shout out to my boy Risen Crimson Glow Valstrax for being probably one of my favorite fights in the whole series. He is everything I love about Val cranked up to 11. Valstrax's theme is great, and finally, his armor was my main wear in Rise before Sunbreak came out. It really captures the Elder's speed and elegance well, and the glowing parts are dyeable, which is a big plus. So yeah, Valstrax is crazy and for all the right reasons.
Those who let themselves be lured into the trap will be whisked away by a swift gale, the embodiment of darkness. A darkness that does not let its victims go, as they are slowly drained of their life. The servants keep providing their master with vital essence. And once the time is ripe, the darkness will show itself, basking in moonlight.
Originally I had this monster on the 4th place, but recently it got even better with an additional variation, which made me put him above Valstrax. I'm of course talking about Malzeno. From the start I was in awe with just how beautiful this one is, the elegant white, mixed with the golden horns, spikes and claws, and of course the red wings and chest hair.
Oh yeah.
He really comes across like an aristocrat. Which fits because, as you could probably guess, he's based off a classic vampire. Sunbreak's theme with the monsters being based on European classic monsters was great, although I'm a bit disappointed we only got 4 monsters with this theme. But those that were added are top tier creatures. Malzeno being the flagship makes a lot of sense, because vampires tend to have the authority over other monsters in stories. Of course, the vampire look is not only an aesthetic. His theme screams vampire. From teleporting to sucking blood, he has almost all abilities associated with the bloodsuckers. Kind of weird they did not go all the way and make him transform into a bat when he flees. But seriously, the first time I saw him dark step, my jaw dropped. It's terrifying and an amazing signature move for him. The other attacks are amazing too. I especially like that his projectiles are either balls of curio or dark red waves. They really have an evil flair about them. The vampire theme of course extends to his equipment as well, which is beautiful. The bloodstones in the weapons are a great detail, and his theme song which screams Transylvanian overlord on a rampage. Now to mention a perhaps underappreciated aspect about him, his role in the story of Sunbreak. From the Monster Hunter games I played, Monster Hunter Sunbreak has definitely my favorite story of all of these games, and Marzeno plays a big part in the plot. First being perceived the reason for the Curio plague haunting the land before being established to be a rival of the end boss Geismagorn, and finally in the last title update being revealed to actually despise the Curio and protecting the land from them. No other flagship outside of the 4th generation has this much importance in development as far as I know, and adds even more to his story fights. The last title update brought us Primordial Marzeno, an ancient version of Marzeno without the Curio, who gets revealed as the protector of the kingdom. Thus he is much more paladin-like in design, and I adore it as well. He probably ties with another monster as my favorite variant of the series, and that being due to just how many new things he brings to the table. This S-tier variant finally convinced me to rank him higher than Valstrax, and I think he deserves that. Even if this may be recency bias, Marzeno will surely remain one of my favorite flagships of all time, even in the future. I love how I'm giving such detailed reasons for adoring the monsters preceding the top 2, but these placements can be summarized by 2 words. Dinosaur bias. No, but in all seriousness, even if I love dinosaurs, I would certainly deny monsters like Anjanat or Barroth to come close to my favorite monsters, because while I love the realistic and grounded designs of Monster Hunter monsters, these being fantasy games set in a different world, I enjoy it when Capcom actually goes wild and gives the creatures familiar to our culture a unique spin. And Glavenus' concept may as well stem from a child's fantasy on how to design the coolest possible dinosaur. Give him a sword for a tail. Oh, and make him breathe fire. Spikes all over the body. Huge spikes. And oh, the sword is on fire too. Now it may seem like I make fun of this idea, but no, all power to these crazy ideas if we get more monsters like Valstrax and Glavenus. It's just mind-boggling to me how they managed to blend this absurd concept on paper into a beautiful, not too out-of-place feeling creature. Glavenus is a brute wyvern that has evolved a massive tail featuring a blade that he sharpens while grinding it on stone. By doing that, ore and other metallic substances get stuck on it, who he scrapes off with his teeth and stores the scrap in his shroud sack, where they get smelted to be used as fireball attacks. Meanwhile, the sharpened blade tail covered in metal gets scraped on the floor by battling, until it finally ignites and Glavenus is at its most dangerous. But this is also the time it is the softest, so if you want to cut it, you have to attack it then. It wears off after some time and the tail gets burnt out and rusty, needing to be sharpened again. This cycle is just so fun to deal with, cycling between focusing the tail when it's burning hot and dangerous and attacking the head when he has ore stored in his throat sack, because if hit enough, the explosive contents will actually explode prematurely and blow a Glavenus throat sack up. leading to a stagger. The fight loop is probably the strongest aspect of Glavenus for me, but that does of course not mean the other aspects are weak. Sound design wise, his roar being so metallic and piercing is awesome. It's one of my favorite roars in the entire series. The soundtrack of Glavenus is a banger as well, feeling like you're having a dance with a sword fighter. And the equipment just ticks all the boxes for a great classic armor and weapons set, not breaking any new grounds but simply giving the hunter a badass suit. My only, and I mean only thing I would criticize is acidic Glavenus, because he really is nothing special except 2 cool looking moves. I haven't fought Hellblade yet, but he looks pretty cool. That's besides the point. Glavenus is the perfect dinosaur monster in Monster Hunter, but not my favorite. Here he is. Surprising? Not at all, if you know me or watched my video on Free Ultimate. Brachydios was the flagship monster of my first Monster Hunter game, and thus will always hold a special place in my heart. A truly fascinating design with an equally ridiculous thought process behind it. What if we gave a T-Rex giant fists? Oh, and make them explode! It's so absurd, I love it. The thing is, Brachy's design is something a lot of my friends have split opinions about, and I get it. It definitely sticks out compared to still more familiar shaped monsters like, for example, Glavenus. But when you know about his ecology and see him fight, it makes perfect sense. One thing I will say is that I do kinda prefer his look in Free Ultimate just a little bit, just because it was darker rather than bright marine blue. But he still looks cool in World, and the moment he got revealed in Glavenus Iceborne trailer, I was beyond hyped. I mean, I could finally rock my favorite hammer in Monster Hunter World. Seriously, whoever designed the weapons of this monster, more power to you, seriously. And the armor grew on me, but with a special version definitely conquering my top spot, which we will get to. Brachy's theme is in my opinion one of, if not the best and most intense battle themes there is. I definitely do not want to repeat myself, but he really was an important step in my Monster Hunter journey, and this will never be taken from him. So he is all round great, but there are other monsters below him with similar feats, even with variants and even more fun encounters. Why is he so high up? Well, turns out he too gets carried even further, because of a variant. Yeah, no real contest. Raging Brachydios took everything I like about Bracky, improved it as well as minor points of criticism I had, and added amazing new features. He looks amazing. The black, orange and red color scheme is simply gorgeous, and paired with his imposing size he makes for a menacing encounter. In his first phase he is slow and deadly, using his ancient slime very defensively. If a spot gets red, don't start a long combo on it, or else the slime will fall off and explode. His slow movements get compensated by incredibly high range and radius of his attacks. This battle really is a dance between you and this hulking monstrosity, while Bracky descends slowly into the hotter areas of the Guiding Lands. Until... I was in absolute disbelief when I first saw this. Bracky gets so mad that he releases a huge load of his slime into the area, blocks off all the entrances, so escape is impossible, blocks off the usage of traps and steams with anger. You have now entered his final stand, and only one of you will leave this area alive. And it feels exactly like this. The music change accompanying this transition is dramatic as hell and really helps to sell the vibe of this showdown. Bracky's slime now behaves very differently, since he overheats because of his anger to a point that it does not explode anymore, but rather remains on the ground and burns the player's feet. Bracky slowly fills the area with it and gives the player less and less space to deal with, and with a deafening roar he ignites his mines all at once. I was incredibly happy to see my longtime favorite monster get this kind of treatment in Iceborne. Everything was perfect. The monster, the fight, the atmosphere, the equipment, just everything. How can I not love this monster to death? It will be hard for any monster to dethrone Bracky for me. But who knows? So, I finally came around to create these videos. I'm very glad, cause I love talking about the Monster Hunter monsters and what makes each and every one of them so special. With Monster Hunter Wilds on the horizon, revisiting the greats of this long-lasting series was hella fun. And I can't wait to see how Arkwell, the new flagship, compares to them all. To you, dear viewer, who's hearing this, thank you for sticking to the end. I hope you enjoyed the ranking/retrospective of Monster Hunter, and that you have a great rest of the day. See you in the next one.